Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in cause number 328332, case of style, the state of Texas versus Brittany Shacole Tillman. Ms. Tillman, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Tillman, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Tillman, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Tillman, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Ms. Tillman? How are you doing? You're hungry? Oh, okay. We'll see if we can get you out of here so that you can get something to eat. Now, Ms. Tillman, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Mark Faggett. Attorney Faggett, do you waive a record in Ms. Tillman's case?
We do.
Ms. Tillman, I have before me a document. Let me do this here. Yeah, Ms. Tillman, you've already been sworn in, is that correct? Okay, now, Ms. Tillman, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about. Okay, Mr. Cobb, would you please put your mic on mute?
Yes, Your Honor, I will.
Ms. Okay, now, Ms. Tillman, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information alleges that on or about July 8th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of theft. Ms. Tillman, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Ms. Tillman, how do you plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Okay.
No contest? Now, Ms. Tillman, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Free.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges? Now, Ms. Tillman, I also have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information, it alleges that on or about July 8th of 2020, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of theft. Ms. Tillman, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And I guess I'm repeating myself. And to this charge, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, and no contest? No contest. Now, Ms. Tillman, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments, also labeled as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And on page 2 of the same document, there are a set of initials BT that are on a line next to a box that's checked no contingent, which means no contest. Did you place your initials BT on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is that your signature?
Yes.
The next document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Ms. Tillman, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And do you, is this your signature on this document?
Yes.
Now, on this document, there's one box that's checked. The box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Tillman, I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes.
Ms. Tillman, before you sign and initial all of these documents that I have just mentioned to you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents? And is everything in these documents true and correct
Yes, sir.
to the best of your knowledge? Ms. Tillman, are you a citizen of the United States? State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and I have the probable cause affidavit. State's Exhibit number 2, State, you like to offer States 1 and 2?
State would offer states 1 and 2 at this time, Your Honor.
Any objections?
None.
No objections. States Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Court will also take judicial notice of State Exhibit number 2. Mr. Faggett, you've advised in counsel, Ms. Tillman, is there any evidence that she is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
None.
Ms. Tillman, your attorney, Mr. Faggett, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? Ms. Tillman, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for a plea of no contest, state agreed to recommend 1 year deferred adjudication and community supervision, $500 fine, and court costs, 40-hour community-based service, theft class, Your Honor, and any other terms and conditions deemed appropriate by the probation department.
Ms. Tillman, the state is offering that you serve 1 year deferred adjudicated probation. During this 1 year probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $500 plus court costs. The court cost in this case is $307. Now, the total fine and court cost is $807. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month. You'll be required to pay a analysis fee of $15 each month. You'll also be required to reimburse Jefferson County court-appointed attorney's fees. Your monthly installments, that is the total amount that you will be required to pay each month while you are on probation, is $175. Ms. Tillman, will you be able to pay the $175 each month?
Yes, sir.
You will also be required to perform 40 hours of community service. You will be required to attend and complete a theft class, and you will be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of this probation. Ms. Tillman, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer? Ms. Tillman, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Ms. Tillman, if you successfully complete this 1 year deferred probationary period, this case will be dismissed. It will not be used as a conviction against you, or will not result in a conviction against you, and you may qualify for a non-disclosure. You can talk to your attorney about the non-disclosure because he's quite competent in those matters. Now, Ms. Tillman, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney. You're gonna follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go and you have a blessed day. Will you please stand on the X? Next case is cause number 3322270. Case is style of state of Texas versus Melanie L. Dennis. Ms. Dennis, would you please come forward? Ms. Dennis, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Dennis, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Ms. Dennis, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Ms. Dennis?
Okay.
You okay? Ms. Dennis, you're here represented by your attorney, Attorney Mark Faggett. Attorney Faggett, do you waive a record in Ms. Dennis' case?
I do.
Ms. Dennis, I have before me a document that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. And this document is titled Information. In this information, it alleges that on or about October 16 of 2021, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, operating a motor vehicle in a public place, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated. Ms. Dennis, do you understand what you have been charged with? And to this charge, Ms. Dennis, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest? Now, are you pleading no contest, Ms. Dennis, freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges? Ms. Dennis, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment, also labeled as State's Exhibit 1. Do you recognize this document? On page 2 of this same document, Ms. Dennis, I have before me on page 2, set of initials, MD, that are on the line next to a box that says check nolo contingent, which means no contest. Ms. Dennis, did you place your initials on this document? On page 3 of this same document, Ms. Dennis, there is a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Ms. Dennis, is that your signature? Yes? This is your signature? Okay. Now, Ms. Dennis, I also have before me a document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that? The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? You have that discovery certification?
I do.
Okay. And Ms. Dennis, I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Ms. Dennis, you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? Now, Ms. Dennis, before you sign and initial all of these documents that I have just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Fagger, go over these documents with you? And did you read and understand everything that he went over? And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Ms. Dennis, are you a citizen of the United States? State, I have before me State's Exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and State's Exhibit number 2, the probable cause affidavit, which is in the court's file. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibits 1 and 2?
State would like to offer 1 and 2 at this time, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr.
None.
Packard? No objections. State's Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. Faggot, you have advised and counseled Ms. Dennis. Is there any evidence that she is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
None, Your Honor.
And Ms. Dennis, your attorney, Mr. Faggot, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation? Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation? Ms. Dennis, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for a plea of no contest, the state's agreed to recommend 90 days in the Jefferson County Jail, probated for 1 year, a $500 fine, and court costs, 80 hours community-based service, DWI education class, and all the other terms that are standard with DWIs, and any other terms and conditions deemed appropriate by the probation department, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Dennis, the state is offering that you serve 90 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you'll be placed on probation for 12 months. During the 12-month probationary period, you'll be required to pay a fine of $500 plus court costs. The court cost in this case is the court cost in this case is $467. Now, the total fine and court cost is $967. You'll also be required to pay a probation fee of $60 each month, a urinalysis fee of $15 each month. You'll be required to reimburse Jefferson County court-appointed attorney's fees of $250. You'll also be required to pay the Jefferson County DDR education class an initial evaluation fee of $125 on the day of the plea. Should a further evaluation be needed, you'll be required to pay an additional $50. Now, your total monthly installments, that is the total amount that you will be required to pay each month while you're on probation, is $190 per month. Ms. Dennis, will you be able to pay the $190 each month?
Mhm.
You will. Now, Ms. Dennis, you will also be required to perform 80 hours of community service. You'll be required to attend and complete a DWI education class and have a drug and alcohol assessment. Okay. You will also be required to adhere to the other standard terms and conditions of probation. Ms. Dennis, do you understand the state's offer? Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just? And you have to say yes or no. And do you accept the state's offer? Okay, Ms. Dennis, I will follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Ms. Dennis, you're going to stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. And once you finish following her directions, you'll be free to go, and you have a blessed day. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session in cause number 324-664. Case is styled the state of Texas versus Heather Irene Areka. Ms. Areka was scheduled to be in court this morning at 9 a.m. At or about 9 a.m., the court's bailiff called the name of Heather Areka at the courthouse door. She did not answer. However, there was a gentleman that appeared for Ms. Areka. And before I do that, Ms. Areka is represented by attorney Bruce Cobb, who is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Cobb, you can take your mic off the mute. Mr. Cobb, you can take your mic off the mute. Okay, he must be having some problems. Oh, no, he must be having some problems with his mic or hearing us. So we'll go to the next case. Next case is cause number 330-526. Case is style of the state of Texas versus DeCoven Coleman. DeCoven Coleman is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Coleman, you can take your mic off of mute. Oh, there you go.
Hello,
Okay, Mr. Coleman, again, is appearing via Zoom. Mr. Coleman, how are you doing?
I'm all right, and you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. And Mr. Coleman, you're here represented by your attorney James Paget. Attorney Paget is also appearing via Zoom. Mr. Paget, how are you doing?
Doing well. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Now, Mr. Paget, your case, Mr. Coleman, before we go any further, the prosecutors is in training this week, and so they're unable to try any cases. And so this case has to be set on our nearest docket.
That'd be adequate, Your Honor.
Okay, so Mr. Coleman, your
Yes,
reset,
sir.
do we have a reset date? Okay, this case is gonna be reset to May 1st of 2023. Stay in contact with your attorney and your bondsman. They will be given notice of your reset dates. Thanks for being patient with us. You're free to go, and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, Your
You do,
Honor.
Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Paget, this is your only case. You're free to go as well, and you have a blessed day.
Yes, Your Honor. Have a blessed day.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cobb, can you hear me? You may have to call him. Okay. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in 2 cases. First case is cause number 332770, and the second case is cause number 33184. 333184. And both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Beretta. One case is styled, the first case is Beretta G. Griffin. Second case is styled the state of Texas versus Beretta Griffin. And both of them has, I guess you could say an AKA of Beretta Jean Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Griffin, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Griffin, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Griffin, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Mr. Griffin, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Griffin?
Ready to get to work.
You ready to get to work? Okay. Now, Mr. Griffin, you're represented in your case by your attorney, Attorney Jack Lawrence. Attorney Lawrence, how are you doing?
Just fine, Your Honor.
And Mr. Lawrence, you gave a record in Mr. Griffin's cases,
Yes, Your Honor.
and the state is represented by Attorney Kobe Hopper. Attorney Hopper, how are you doing?
Good, Judge.
Mr. Griffin, in cause number 332770, I have before me an information that has been filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about May 30th, 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of criminal trespassing. Mr. Griffin, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Griffin, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Griffin, I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document? On page 2 of the same document, Mr. Griffin, there are a set of initials, BG, that are on a line next to a box that's checked no contingent, which means no contest. Are these your initials on this document? And on page 3 of the same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is this your signature? And on the next document that's titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that? The second box states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? And we have the discovery certification.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Griffin, I have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document? And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Griffin, before you sign and initialed all of these documents that I have just mentioned to you, did your attorney, Mr. Lawrence, go over these documents with you?
Yes.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and I have before me State's Exhibit Number 2, the probable cause affidavit, which is in the court's file. State, like offer States 1 and 2.
State would offer those at this time.
Any objections, Mr. Lawrence?
No objection.
No objection. State's Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. Lawrence, you have advised and counseled Mr. Griffin. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
None, Your Honor.
Mr. Griffin, your attorney, Mr. Lawrence, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin, the state, Mr. Griffin, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The state, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
What is that agreement?
In exchange for pleading no contest, Your Honor, the state's agreed to recommend 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail with court costs and all credit Mr. Griffin is due by law. And also, this is to run concurrent with the companion case of 333-184. Judge, and I want to, it's not indicated on the paperwork because both counsel and the state need to ask the court if it's okay. I believe he has 27 days credit.
Yes,
If it's
Your
all right to start on Friday, which would mean him reporting, otherwise. he
I mean,
has to
do we
go-
know he has?
We've checked with the clerk, Judge.
Well, we checked with the jail, Your Honor, and they
Okay.
actually gave me the days that he had served,
Okay, so he has 27
27.
days credit,
27.
So there's
27
3
days, so he has, so it should be on the paperwork that he's supposed to report on what date y'all have agreed to.
If, the only reason why I didn't put it on there prior, Judge, is to make sure that the court's okay with us, him reporting.
I mean, he can report on a,
remote.
yeah, I mean, he can turn himself in on a, you say Friday?
He needs to be there to get the 3 days.
I'm saying that, but I'm trying to get the specific date and time that he's gonna turn himself in. Is it this Friday?
Would you like for it to be?
Okay, so we're gonna have to get y'all have that date, that she's gonna have to put that on the
It needs to be on our paperwork.
on the paperwork, right?
I mean, look,
What's the date?
next Friday, it's the 24th,
That's February
February 24th,
24, 23. Now, this is gonna be
prior to 6 p.m.
at or before 6 p.m. You gotta either get there before 6 p.m. Okay?
If the court wants me to put it on our,
Yeah, he can be on here. That's,
I just didn't want to do it prior to
I mean, if y'all agree,
Okay.
y'all can agree to it. I mean,
sir.
we'll give him time to get his affairs in order to turn himself in on Friday, February 24th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
And of course, this 3 days.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Both cases.
Okay, let me do this here. Now, Mr. Griffin, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You will be given credit for 27 days that you're entitled to get by law. You'll be required to serve out the remaining 3 days in the Jefferson County Jail, and you'll turn yourself in on
24th February.
February 24th of 2023 at or before 6 p.m. Okay, now do you understand that? Okay, in this case, we'll run concurrent with cause number 333184. Now, Mr. Griffin, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just? And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Griffin, we will move to your second case. And the second case is cause number 333184. And in this case, Mr. Griffin, I have before me an information. And this information alleges that Mr. Kyle, put your mic on mute, please. We're in session. We're in court. Thank you. Mr. Griffin. I have before me a document that is titled information. And this information in cause number 333184 alleges that on or about April 30th of 2022, while you in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespassing. Mr. Griffin, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes.
And to this charge, Mr. Griffin, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, are you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yes.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments, also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of this same document, Mr. Griffin, I have before me a set of initials BG that are on a line next to a box that's checked nolo contendere, which also means no contest. Mr. Griffin, did you place your initials on this document? On page 3 of this same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your
Got the mother of Fabian Scott.
Is that that?
Okay. Now, Mr. Griffin, is this your signature on page 3 of this document above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes.
I also have a document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And at the bottom of this document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes.
There are 2 boxes that's checked at the top of this document. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The second box checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal. Do you understand that? And do we have the discovery certification?
Yes, Your Honor.
I also have a document that is titled discovery certification. Mr. Griffin, do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on above the line that is titled defendant?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Griffin, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I've just mentioned to you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? State. Well, state, I have before me states exhibits number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and states exhibit number 2, the probable cause affidavit. State, you like to offer states 1 and 2?
Say, do so at this time, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr.
Oh, no objection, Your Honor.
Morris? Okay, no objections. States exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. And
We'll do that on that. Same thing we did
Oh,
with the other
yeah.
one, Judge, going to do. So
Yeah.
that's,
And Mr. Lawrence, you advised and counsel Mr. Griffin in this case as well. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Oh, not at all, Your Honor.
And Mr. Griffin, your attorney, Mr. Lawrence has advised and counseled you in this case as well. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided fully effective, competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and just for the record, state you had offered states 1 and 2,
we did, Your Honor.
and you had no objections?
No
And
objection.
the court has admitted states exhibit number 1 and 2. So, Mr. Griffin, the court is going to accept your plea of no contest. The court will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. The court will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The court will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. State, do we have a plea bargaining agreement in this case?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, exchange for a plea of no contest, the state agrees to recommend 30 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Court costs and any credit is due by law. We believe that that credit is 27 days, Your Honor. And for the remaining 3 days, part of that plea agreement is for Mr. Griffin to report on February 24th, 2023, on or before 6 p.m. We're going to run this concurrent with the previous case, Your Honor, 332-770.
Okay, now.
77, yeah, that's right.
332-770.
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Griffin, let me do this. I should have asked you this in the previous case as well. Now, Mr. Griffin, the state is offering that you serve 30 days in Jefferson County Jail. You'll be given credit for 27 days. Now, the remaining 3 days, you'll be required to turn yourself in at or before 6 p.m. on February 24th of 2023. This case will run concurrent with cause number 332-770. Now, the court cost in this case, and I should have asked you the same question in the other case, the court cost in this case is $337. Will you be able to pay the $337 court cost for today?
Today,
With the day that you start your sentence on Friday?
I could pay some of it.
No, I'm saying, will you be able to pay all of it?
All of it? Yes.
Yes.
What's the total on that, Your
Let's
Honor?
say 337?
Yes, 337.
One-
Now, I'm just frightened. I'm asking you about this case. I got another case. Let me see the other one, the other case, the previous case, which was cause number 332-770. The court cost in this case is the same amount, $337. So that would be $674. Will you be able to pay the court cost of $674? Actually, just say today, on the day of the plea.
No, not, I'm being honest with you, no, but I'll be able to pay it if you give it. I mean, I work, so I'll be able to pay it.
Okay,
Yes, I'll be able to pay it. Yes.
okay, so you will be able to pay it, okay. Now, Mr. Griffin, do you understand the state's offers in this case?
Yes,
Do you think that the state's offer in this case is fair and just?
yes, sure.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, I'll follow the state's offer. I'll accept your plea. In this case, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement. And now, just for the record, Mr. Griffin, in each case, serve 30 days, and you'll be given 27 days credit in each one of these cases. The jail time will run concurrent. In the first case, it would the jail times will run concurrent with each other, and you'll be required to turn yourself in on February 24th, 2023, at or before 6 p.m. And you also be required to pay the court costs. Now, this will conclude your cases. You're gonna stand on the X, follow the bailiff. Once you're finished following the bailiffs, you're free to go, and you'll turn yourself in on February 24th of 2023 at or before 6 p.m., which is Friday after next. Is that correct? That's the correct date?
Mhm.
Okay. All right. You just, sign on the X, stand on the X. Yeah.